A nation strikes back Operation Sindoor launched. On May 7, 2025, India launched a series of surgical strikes against terrorist camps operating within Pakistan-controlled territory. This operation, codenamed Operation Sindoor, marked a significant escalation in the ongoing tensions between the two nuclear-armed neighbors. The Indian government confirmed that the operation targeted 9 specific locations, including a Jaish-e-Mohammed stronghold in Bahawalpur and a Lashkar-e-Taiba base in Muridki. These groups are known for their involvement in numerous terrorist attacks against India. Operation Sindoor was a direct response to the horrific terrorist attack that occurred in Pahalgam on April 22, 2025. The Pahalgam attack, which claimed the lives of 26 innocent civilians, sent shockwaves throughout India. The attack, widely believed to have been orchestrated by Pakistan-based terrorist groups, sparked outrage and demands for decisive action. The Indian government vowed to avenge the deaths of its citizens and send a clear message that such acts of terrorism would not go unpunished. The Indian government emphasized that Operation Sindoor was conducted with utmost precision, using a combination of standoff weapons, drones, and precision-guided munitions. All operations were carried out within Indian airspace, minimizing the risk of collateral damage. India maintained that all 9 targets were successfully neutralized and that no Pakistani military installations were targeted during the operation. The aftermath of Operation Sindoor was met with a mix of apprehension and resolute support within India. The nation held its breath, bracing for Pakistan's inevitable response. The world watched nervously as the two nuclear-armed adversaries stood at the brink of a wider conflict. The reverberations of Operation Sindoor were felt far beyond the immediate region, raising urgent questions about the future of Indo-Pak relations and the global fight against terrorism. Retaliation and casualties, the human cost of conflict. As anticipated, Pakistan retaliated swiftly and fiercely to Operation Sindoor. Pakistani forces launched indiscriminate shelling across the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir, targeting both Indian military positions and civilian areas. The shelling resulted in numerous casualties on both sides of the border, underscoring the tragic human cost of the escalating conflict. Conflicting reports emerged regarding the exact number of casualties, highlighting the difficulty of obtaining accurate information in such volatile situations. According to Greater Kashmir, at least 7 civilians were killed, and 38 others were injured in the Pakistani shelling. The casualties included a woman and 2 children, stark reminders of the indiscriminate nature of the violence. The worst affected areas were Poonch, where 7 fatalities and 25 injuries were reported, followed by Uri with 10 injuries and Rajouri with 3. Other sources, such as the Daily Excelsior, placed the death toll at 7 with over 30 injured, while the Hindu reported 6 fatalities and over 30 injured on the Indian side. Adding to the complexity, Pakistan claimed that 8 civilians, including a 3-year-old child, were killed, and 35 were injured in the Indian strikes. These conflicting accounts underscore the challenges in verifying information during times of conflict, as each side seeks to control the narrative. The Indian Army, while confirming casualties, maintained that it was responding to the Pakistani aggression in equal measure. The exchange of fire across the line of control, a grim reminder of the fragile ceasefire that had been in place since 2003, heightened fears of a full-blown conflict between the two nations. The international community watched with bated breath, urging both sides to exercise restraint and seek a peaceful resolution to the crisis. International response calls for restraint and dialogue. The international community reacted to the escalating tensions between India and Pakistan with a mixture of concern and urgency. The United Nations Secretary-General called for both sides to exercise maximum restraint and to avoid any actions that could further escalate the situation. The UN Security Council convened an emergency closed-door consultation, during which member states urged India and Pakistan to de-escalate the situation and engage in dialogue. The United States, while acknowledging India's right to self-defense, expressed hope for a swift and peaceful resolution to the crisis. The U.S. Secretary of State was briefed by India's National Security Advisor on the situation, underscoring the seriousness with which Washington was viewing the developments. Iran, a key regional player, also urged restraint and called for a diplomatic solution to the conflict. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation criticized India's actions in the aftermath of the Pahalgam attack, drawing a sharp rebuke from New Delhi. India maintained that its actions were directed solely against terrorist infrastructure, and were not intended to target any particular country or community. The conflicting narratives and heightened rhetoric underscored the deep mistrust and animosity that continues to plague India-Pakistan relations. Domestic repercussions and the symbolism of Sindoor. Within India, Operation Sindoor elicited a wave of patriotic fervor and support for the government's decisive action. The daughter of one of the victims of the Pahalgam attack praised the operation, stating that it brought a sense of closure and justice to her family. Political parties across the spectrum, including the Shiv Sena, voiced their unwavering support for the government's decision to strike back against terrorism. However, the operation also had significant repercussions on daily life in the border areas of Jammu and Kashmir. Schools and colleges in the region were closed indefinitely as a precautionary measure, disrupting the education of thousands of students. Commercial flights in North India were temporarily suspended, causing inconvenience to travelers and impacting businesses. The symbolism behind the operation's name, Sindoor, added another layer of complexity to the already charged atmosphere. Sindoor is a traditional red powder worn by married Hindu women on their foreheads. In this context, it was interpreted as a tribute to the women who lost their husbands in the Pahalgam attack, signifying their strength and resilience in the face of tragedy. The choice of this particular name, while resonating with many Indians, also drew criticism for potentially further inflaming religious sentiments.